Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. This is Real Life Talks, and I'm your host, Yvonne Heath, author of Love Your Life to Death and founder of the I Just Showed Up movement. So today I'm so excited that Nancy Osborne, hello Nancy.
Hello Yvonne.
Has joined us here in the studio, and we're going to find out all about I Got This and what that means. But first, we're going to watch a little clip of Nancy in action.
So think about stepping out of your comfort zone, just like these nominees here tonight have done. Step out of that comfort zone, face that fear, and follow your passion. Safety officer, and I'm teaching people how to use every kind of weapon, submachine guns, automatic weapons, throw a grenade, rocket launchers, oh yeah. There I stand, alone in the desert, petrified, so scared I might never see my home again. Not long ago, I woke up and went, wait a minute, I'm a woman. I have these wonderful emotions. I cry when I'm sad, but I also cry when I'm angry. I cry when I'm annoyed with somebody. So I thought, maybe it's time I own my tears. So what we were supposed to do is crawl out through this little hole, grab a hold of the strut on the wing, get your feet down, one in front of the other, on the tire, and then take your feet off the tire and fly there like a kite until somebody says, go. The thing you're supposed to do when they say go, you're going to throw your arms back very gracefully, fall away from the plane, and the chute's going to open, okay? Yeah. So I'm there, I get out, I got a hold of the strut, and I'm thinking, okay, feet off, my feet come off, and who the hell thinks you can hold on to your whole body weight when you're going at 200 miles an hour? No, at that point, I'm somersaulting through the air. Build your own road. Ask for directions along the way, but if they don't fit, don't follow them. And if you end up somewhere where you don't want to be, well, don't hesitate. Change directions and get out of there. When I was so devastated, so low, so lonely, so hurt, all of a sudden, I was full of confidence. I felt good about myself. I knew what I had done, and I was proud. And the next time I walked into the bar, oh yeah, jump out of an aircraft, piece of cake, I've done that.
Wow, Nancy, I love that clip. I love it. It is so amazing. What you do is amazing, and you have created this I Got This movement. But before we start talking about that, I'd love you to share your background, because I've said it many times. Can I say what I...
Yeah, go ahead.
So doesn't Nancy look like she would be your kid's grade 2 teacher? You're very kind, nice, sweet face, that you'd make a nice apple pie.
Got you fooled.
Wow. So let's hear about the real Nancy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. And even when I recount this story every once in a while, I go, is that my life?
Yeah. Am I making this up?
Yeah. Home life wasn't great. And I ran away from home when I was 16. And at 17, I joined the regular military.
At 17?
At 17. Oh. Now, of interest, it was years later when I was working for UNICEF, and I'm waiting for a friend to go to lunch, and I'm flipping through this book on how all these different countries did on child soldiers. And there's Canada, and I'm going, Canada didn't have child soldiers. And then I start to read, and of course, 18 is the international age for an adult.
Okay.
And so by allowing people like me in at 17,
sure,
back in the 70s, then I was indeed a child soldier. And now I was working in an organization that was looking after child soldiers. Canada did change those rules since then. So yeah, and I joined at 17 in the regular force into what was at that point in time an all-male tough security branch.
My
and
goodness.
So yeah, you one of the things I was thinking about recently, especially with, International Women's Days and women's marches and so on, and thinking about feminism and thinking, you were in the closet if you were a feminist. It was all about actions, but don't dare speak the words.
Right.
So that was kind of my military career, and through there, I did everything that I was ever challenged to do. So I was an unarmed combat instructor, and I instructed weapons, whether they were automatic weapons and submachine guns and grenades and rocket launchers, and I did all of that stuff, and I had a ball doing it. And the wonderful thing was that even though there's a lot of pushback to having women, by doing things the way I did and always keeping that smile that you call the school teacher, by keeping that, I think I also ended up with my supporters and my allies.
Right.
And without them, I would never have made it. So 20 years later, I retired as a senior officer and thought that was going to be it. But you know what? Doing crafts and craft shows was fun for a little while.
Yeah.
And then I got the call.
Sure.
Yeah, and the call came from the United Nations. It was a friend of mine, an old colleague from my branch, one of my allies, and he was calling on a satellite phone from a desert in Afghanistan, and he's like, Nancy, this particular part of supporting humanitarian aid, we've never had any women in here doing this. So, are you interested?
Jeez.
I thought for about 2 seconds. And then I said, well, I'll have to discuss it with my husband.
Right.
Right,
Honey, we're going to Afghanistan. Was that the discussion?
We're going to Sudan.
And
of course, I'm so fortunate that I have Jay in my life because he's game, he's supportive, he's there. He's like, oh, cool, okay, let me start packing.
Wow.
So off we went, and that was the start of my UN career. And I've only recently retired from the United Nations, from UNICEF, as a matter of fact.
Right.
And I had such an amazing time. I worked in more than 40 countries, from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Sudan, East Timor. I just had a ball. And, granted, some of the most misogynistic old boys clubs in the world, but I always find that a little bit of fun, because that's when you get, really, it was. But that's when you get to sort of go, no, excuse me, I got this.
I got this.
Step out of the way, because I got this. And, it worked. And
but your life
fun.
has been, but you say you've had fun, but your life was in danger at times, was it not? I mean, you were in dangerous situations.
There were moments, but of interest, I was the person determining whether it was too dangerous for people to be there.
Okay.
So I was that front line who was going in. So I usually had more information than other people. I certainly had connections with rebels, with militaries that were committing these offenses, with all kinds of people. I was the one that had the connections and was doing, I guess in a way, the negotiation. And then also this assessment of, is it really safe? Can we bring the humanitarians in? So there was a lot of negotiating in that. And there were a few moments, I will certainly say that, but a little adrenaline's not a bad thing.
Oh my goodness. I like adrenaline, going for a little jog or something. What do you think? How were you able to do what you did? What compelled you at 17 to join the military, to say yes? What do you think what was it?
That was pretty simple, really. My mother had died when I was 16, lost her battle with cancer. My brother, by that point, had committed a number of offenses and was diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic and institutionalized, albeit not forever, and then back and in and out. And my father had kind of moved on to a new family. So I was sitting in a bit of a difficult place.
Lost, I'm sure.
And there'd been some abuse in our family as well. And so I really knew that I needed to do something. And I was smart enough at 17 to realize that. I had excelled in school, and everybody assumed that I would stay in school, go on to university, and that just wasn't going to happen.
Right.
So I found myself at one point living in a campground and dispatching taxis on the midnight shift.
Wow.
Yeah, and I woke up when it was starting to get really cold in that campground, and I woke up and I went, they're about to close the campground. What am I going to do? I had always been really, really interested in police work.
Okay.
Really interested. But I was 17.
Right.
And 1975, which this was the first year that the RCMP and a few of the really progressive police forces started to take women in a full constable role. So I thought, yeah, that's what I want to do. But I'm 17, you have to be 21.
Right.
Then I found out that the military also had a police force. And because in the military they would take people into any branch, so it didn't matter whether you were infantry, whether you were intelligence, military police, or supply, you could join at 17.
Wow. It's so young.
It is. And when I see 17-year-olds now,
yes,
there's no
4 years older than our twins, right? Like, come on, that's it's so young. But wow, you've taken everything you've learned in all of your experience, and now you've created something extraordinary, because I've actually seen the evolution of it. And when you said, yes, I've got this, well, now you're teaching other people to say, I got this. And so tell us about I got this.
Well, I'm going to back up just on one little thing first, because there is something I want to say. Because you sort of made this sound like it's incredulous and, oh my goodness, and this is so wild and brave and crazy. And
it is.
However, what I do want to say is I often hear women say to me, I could never do what you've done. And I want to say, stop saying that. Stop saying that. Stop saying that, because you know what? You could do anything that I've done. I'm not special. There was nothing special in any of this. However, you probably really wouldn't want to do what I've done.
Sure.
And so I think it's really important for women to be able to put that in perspective, because it isn't that you can't. You have your own challenges, your own fears to overcome. You have your own things that you're passionate about and really want to do. And they're probably things that I couldn't do.
Of course, sure.
Or I could, but maybe I wouldn't. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I really want to put that in perspective for people, because I'm not special. Well, I am.
Of course you are.
We all are. But
we were just talking about that. We're special. But it's an important distinction. And you're also, you were trained, one step at a time.
Yes.
It's kind of like people say, oh, I couldn't do what you're doing, speaking and doing all this. So, well, I started out petrified, so it's training. It's so you trained and learned as you went along.
Yeah.
So, yes, but now you're taking all of what you've learned.
Exactly.
And now I was going to say empowering others, but we talked about that word empowering. Talk to me about that. So I got this, and what do you want to bring to women?
So I'll back it up to my last number of years when I was with the UN, UNICEF specifically, and I was at headquarters in New York. I traveled all over the world, and I backfilled and did all kinds of really great things. But one of the most amazing things that I did is I took the lead on customizing and providing training that was specifically for women working in different environments around the world. So these women, some of them would be internationals working outside of their home countries, others would be nationals in those countries. And I went to more than 27 countries to provide this training, and it was so popular that I trained 12 trainers before I left, and they're all way too busy. So it was something that was missing for women, was this, and I'm going to say more than training, but a space, a safe space where we can actually talk about our fears and talk to each other about how did you manage that? How did you manage to stand up in front of a whole bunch of people and speak? How do we share what we've learned? So when I got home, I realized, there's a place for this in Canada too. Yes. So I got this and started out with the workshops. Then that sort of grew into speaking and keynote speaking. Yes. And I'm loving sharing that message because, well, you said empower.
Yes.
And this is something that I've thought about a lot because the time when I was 17, 18, 19 in the military, I don't think I ever felt like I didn't have power.
Right.
I wouldn't have made it if I didn't know that I had power. So when I think about, we so often, language is so important. We so often take the things that are happening and we shift them to the women. Well, women need to be more empowered.
Right.
No, women have power. our culture needs to shift so that there are not people who are abusing women and abusing other people who are at risk.
Right.
So it isn't about us not having power, it's about other people stopping doing some of the things that they're doing. You know, we look at the Me Too. Those are, you know, especially in Hollywood, these are pretty powerful women.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do they need to be empowered? No, women have power. And the women that I've met all over the world, and I think of times in the Darfurs in Sudan, women who've experienced heinous, horrible things, worse than I can even wrap my head around. And yet, these women could stand taller and prouder and support one another in ways that I couldn't imagine.
Incredible.
And when I look at a group of these women, do I see people who are not powerful?
Right.
Not at all. I see a group of incredibly empowered people. They own that power. Now, are they fighting against something really tough and wrong? Yes. So I like to shift the focus from, and you've heard me before too, shifting from victim to target. Predators prey on a target. Women have power. Predators are the ones that need to be changed. It's the actions there. It's not the women that have to change and step up and do things better.
Right. We do need to have a voice, though, right? If we
a space for a voice.
Yes. And if we see something, say something, and if we don't like the way we're being treated, we need to acknowledge and do something. And right? I mean, that's that's part of it. And we talked earlier in the fact that we need, you know, why do these people become predators? Because at one point they were just innocent kids. You know, what happened? And of course, our culture plays a big, cultural. Yeah, it's hugely cultural.
I mentioned my supporters and allies back in, you know, the 70s in the military, and this was a different, this is more than 40 years ago. This is a different environment than what exists today. And, you know, I mentioned those supporters and allies. There's not a one of them who didn't at some point discriminate, harass, or you know, the inappropriate things that used to go on. But that was also very much embedded in the everyday culture.
The norm.
And it was their norm.
Yeah.
And that's how they all behaved.
Sure.
But then some of them could step away from that and still be my supporters and my allies. Now, I think we need to change that. None of us want to be 40 years ago anymore. Things need to change. And I think you make a good point about women needing to have a voice. But I also think it's important that if we understand somebody's not giving us power. That power's inside of us.
Of course.
It's already there, and it's okay for us to use it. Absolutely okay.
And you know, I did take your workshop or your whole day. I loved every moment of it, and I left, I don't know, kind of felt really good about myself. And it wasn't about being, you know, obnoxiously roar, roar, roar. It was just about, I do have power, and it's internal, and I can use it, and just little things, and being more aware, unlocking your instinct, right? That was, and just using that.
Learning to listen to your instincts, trust your instincts. And when something isn't right, learning that it's okay to say something. Because I think that's a big thing with women, that we'll hear that little voice and we'll go, but he hasn't really, he seems to be polite, everything seems to be okay, and I'm feeling uncomfortable, but I'm not really sure why, and I can't put my finger on it. And I think that's that voice that, no, it's okay. The fine line between being assertive, being confident, and being aggressive. And we rarely need to be aggressive.
Right.
But being confident and assertive, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's polite. It's not impolite.
Yes.
And so to be able to, well, you remember my good guy filter. And that was one of the things that I really talk about during the workshops. And I say, you know, so everybody in their life can think of one man who's a really good guy. Respects women, he's good, he's kind, he's gentle, you know, all of these things. So think about that person. There's your good guy to put into your mind. Then when things happen, so I use the example of, you know, you're walking down the street, you've got your groceries, one of the bags breaks, there's oranges all over. So your good guy sees this woman who's now trying to gather all this up.
Sure.
Would your good guy offer to help?
Absolutely.
Of course he would.
Sure.
He's going to go over, oh, please, can I help you? And if this woman says, no, thank you, might he ask a second time?
He might say, are you sure you look like you need help?
Yeah,
you know,
and I don't mind.
Yeah, okay, I'm a good guy.
Yeah,
okay.
And if she turned around, well, if he says I'm a good guy, I'm really going to worry about it. Yeah.
True. Oh, okay, yes.
But, yeah, he's very likely to say, I really don't mind. And if she looks up and says, no, thank you, a second time,
yes,
what's he going to do?
Okay, no problem.
He's going to walk away. He might feel bad that he couldn't help her. He might look back. He might, you know, but he's not. So the person who comes up then and doesn't respect that no, no is not the start of a negotiation.
No is, I like that. No is not the start of a negotiation.
That's right. So
no is just no.
Somebody comes up and goes, oh, don't be so silly. Don't be so proud. I'll help you with that. you know, I've got this for you here. Let me do this. And, you know, is that then somebody who's got your best interest at heart?
Yeah, thinking,
filter that. But he seems like he's being so nice. You know, he's really just trying to help. You know, it's my fault because I'm being too proud.
Right.
And I'm not letting somebody help.
Right.
So, you know, this is that filter of the good guy filter. At that moment when you're kind of wondering, this doesn't feel right, but I don't know why, because he's really trying to be nice.
Right.
Filter it through your good guy. What would your good guy be doing? He would have respected.
He would have respected the no.
No.
So then what do you do with this guy who's kind of insisting on helping?
Yeah, and this is where, again, we can start to filter every one of his actions and we can call him on it because he is expecting. There's some, you know, I don't know whether there's a book out there, 101 for harassing and, you know, I don't know, but, you know, he is expecting a certain response from you.
Yeah.
When he says, oh, don't be so proud, don't be so, you know, he's expecting you to go, well.
Okay, yeah.
And it's no, we're in a public place here. And I'm like, excuse me, I said no. And you're allowed now to start to ramp that up because you recognize that he may appear like he's trying to be nice, but chances are he isn't. So it's perfectly okay now to start to ramp things up a little bit and even ask someone else for help. Or walk away and leave those oranges on the ground.
Yeah. And, you know, and isn't that those little things that you can just say, it's okay for me to, even if he is a good guy and you're wrong, that's okay, because if those little hairs on the back of your neck are standing up, or you just, your radar, and maybe you're wrong, but that's okay. That is also your prerogative, isn't it?
It absolutely is. But you know what's interesting about our instincts? I would venture to say our instincts are never wrong.
Right.
We may never know why we had that little alarm bell, the you know, the hairs standing up on the back of our neck, those spidey senses going off. We might never know why, because if we respond properly, the situation will change.
Right. So it's interesting, but see, those are the kind of things you shared. And you know, if someone is in your personal space and you're just kind of saying, you know, thank you, I just would like you to step back a little bit, and you know, maybe your hand up. And if somebody won't go away, the little chest rub. I showed that to my daughter as soon as I got home. I said, Jaden, get over here. If someone's in your personal space and they won't go away, do a little chest rub with your knuckles. It really hurts. Here, come here, let's try it.
Yeah, and it's so subtle.
Just so subtle.
So subtle.
Like, I just need some space here.
You haven't listened to my words. In fact, you've denied them and said, oh, honey, sweetheart, you know, hey, don't, it's just, I'm just being nice to you. You know, so someone has not listened to your words. You've tried. You've done all the right things. And then at a certain point, it's kind of like, no, I'm going to send you a strong message. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to lay them out on the ground and kick out, you know. Not at all. But there's just different ways of sending that message and changing the circumstances.
That's right. And like you said, it is okay to have a voice. It's okay to, and you have power.
Yes.
And you know, just in this short time together, you've given us a few, okay, we are empowered. We do have power within us. And you are sharing this message. And are you going to keep doing workshops? I really hope you do.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm definitely going to continue doing the workshops. And I'm going to continue speaking because it's a way to reach even more people, you know, at a time. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited about being able to take what I learned, maybe, you know, the School of Hard Knocks. Every woman is going to face their challenges.
But if we can sort of learn from the past and keep moving it forward, then you're facing new challenges and you don't have to relearn the same lessons.
Exactly, yes. And we do need to create a culture of change, and that's one voice at a time, many voices at a time. And, you know, let's just have safe, it's all about safety, respect, and what that means to you.
Yes. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I am so excited that you are doing this work. I am so excited that you have all of this experience, all of this knowledge, and you share stories on your website and information. And what is your website? We'll have that. We'll have it on there. But I just want to make sure people have it.
It is www.igotthis.space. I got this space.
I got this space. I got this space. And this is something that we can, when we learn it, we can bring it to children.
Absolutely.
Right? To our children. And again, I just love reframing that we do have power.
Yes.
We don't need to, we have power within.
We were born with power. It belongs to us.
It does.
And it's that cultural world that we've lived in. And that's where the shift needs to happen. So our children, we bring this to our daughters, we bring it to our sons too.
Absolutely. Because to the children, that's what I say, to our sons and to our daughters and to the schools and everywhere.
Yeah. It's
Thank
so
you.
important.
We're out of time. Can you? I know.
No way.
Yes, I'm telling you. Nancy and I could talk all day long.
Oh yeah, this happens.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you for being here. Thank you for what you do. Check out the website. And if your workshop was phenomenal, like I said, I felt all empowered. I couldn't, yes, it was wonderful. Oh, I was empowered. I found my inner power. See that?
There you go. There you go.
I found my voice, but it just felt good to unlock my own instincts.
Yes.
So thank you for everything that you are bringing to our culture.
It is such a pleasure and so much fun.
Thanks so much. And thanks so much for joining us on Real Life Talks. These are conversations, sometimes hard ones to have, but they're about showing up for yourself, showing up for others, and yes, creating a culture of change. So my call to action, if you do want to be able to just show up, is, as always, plan your life, plan your death, and then just love your life to death. And always bring your own tambourine to the party. Thanks. See you next time. I love my tambourine, right?
That's a
my
great way
tambourine.
Yeah.